Hi everyone, this is Angela. In this video, I will explain the working of a vector impedance meter. As the name suggests, this meter is used to measure impedance. It not only measures the magnitude of impedance but also the phase. So, this meter has two main aims. One is to measure the magnitude of impedance. Second, to measure the phase angle. Now, the magnitude of impedance is measured in two ways. One way is you use a constant voltage or maintain a constant known voltage across the unknown impedance, and make the meter measure the current through the unknown impedance. See, the second method is you make a constant current or a known value of current flow through the unknown impedance, and then make the meter measure the voltage across the unknown impedance, and so give a reading of Z, magnitude of Z, proportional to the voltage that it measures across the unknown impedance. Just to show you again, this is your unknown impedance, and in the first method you maintain a constant voltage across this of some known value, okay, and then you measure the current flowing through this. You connect this to a meter which measures Z, which is the Z magnitude meter, which measures, as in this case it will measure the current through this, and so provides a reading of the magnitude of Z, which is proportional to the current through the unknown impedance. In the second method, what you do is you make a constant current flow. This is constant, right? Constant current flow to the unknown impedance, and then make the meter measure the voltage across this, and so the meter gives you a proportional reading of the impedance to that of the voltage measured across the unknown impedance. So these are the two ways in which this meter measures the magnitude of impedance. As we know, Z is V by I, where Z is a complex quantity. That means V and I both have some phase. Now, magnitude of Z, we can directly find out V by I, which is nothing but the magnitudes only. And this is what is done in these two methods. In the first method, if you carefully observe, the magnitude of Z is measured at a constant voltage. That means voltage is some constant K. So the magnitude meter measures the current across the unknown impedance. In other words, this is like this, where K is the known constant voltage, right? And now for the second case, constant current waveform, Z measures voltage like this. In other words, Z is nothing but some constant K here, which is nothing but your constant current. So this is all about how this meter will measure the magnitude of impedance. Next is to measure the phase angle. Now, from this formula, if you observe, if I want the phase, it's nothing but theta B minus theta I. This is the phase difference between voltage waveform and current waveform. Let us see it. Assume this is your voltage waveform and this is your current waveform. The meter is so designed that it measures the zero crossing points. So it measures when the voltage waveform crosses zero, and it also measures when the current waveform crosses zero. And then it measures the difference here. This is nothing but your phase angle reading. The meter gives you the magnitude of impedance in ohms and the phase in degrees. As you can observe, the measurements that we are trying to make here can all be made by simply using a CRO. The voltage can be measured, the current can be measured, the phase difference can be measured if you're able to simultaneously look at the waveforms. But why then is there a need for a vector impedance meter or a meter separately? These readings that we can make using the CRO can be done only for a particular frequency, for a certain frequency. You would have to make the measurements again for a different frequency and then continue so on if you want to understand the behavior of the component of unknown impedance for a range of frequency. That becomes a strenuous task. But this meter provides us with a facility of being able to measure the impedance for a frequency range. So now you don't have to change the setup and or make any adjustments to the circuit. Using this meter, you're provided with a knob where you can change the frequency and then observe the impedance change directly. So the reason for having this meter being studied separately will be this particular element, that you're able to understand the behavior of a component of unknown impedance for a frequency range. This allows the study and analysis of that component for a desired frequency range. Now, let us look into the block diagram of the vector impedance meter. As you can observe, we have a signal generator over here, which I told you has an adjustable frequency and range. So now using this, you can change your frequency and then you will get a reading of the magnitude of Z and the phase angle in these two meters here at this end. And so for a different frequency, you can just look in here at these meters and you will find the readings. Here you connect your unknown impedance. This is actually, if you look at the actual setup of the meter, you will find a probe where you can connect this unknown impedance. This knob will be available to you. You can turn and select a particular frequency. All of this will again be inside except for these meters, which will show the reading like the display. So you can control these knobs here and then you can find a reading here. The remaining part is all inside. Now let us go through the diagram first, then we will discuss some blocks separately. Here we have an oscillator. Main function is just to provide different signal frequencies. Now here we have an automatic gain controls block which has a feedback connected to it. Okay, this is its output, and some part of the output is again connected in. If you actually trace the path, some part is again. So this is a feedback. In other words, this will work like a control voltage. We'll see how that works. Automatic gain control system, which suitably amplifies your signal coming out from here. And then this control voltage changes or controls this output voltage. This output voltage then selects a mode of operation of this block. And this block is called the Z switch block. It works in two modes. The first mode is the constant current mode. The second is constant voltage mode. The diagram that you see here is for the constant current mode. In the constant current mode, the output voltage that you get from this should be in a range like this, a multiple of 10 or of 100, in that range, low range values. Then the switch, if this output voltage is in this range, then it functions in the constant current mode. And if the output voltage is in a range like this, 100 kilo or 1 mega, then it works in the constant voltage. This is the constant voltage mode. This is the constant current mode. You also see that we have a differential amplifier here, a trans resistance amplifier here. Now, a differential amplifier simply gives you an output proportional to the difference between the inputs here. The trans resistance amplifier produces an output which is proportional to the input current over here. The amplifier and filter sections here are like signal conditioning circuits which allow the signal or make the signal suitable for display in the meters. Following, you have a Schmitt trigger. This Schmitt trigger works to produce positive spikes. In other words, it produces triggers for your bistable multivibrator. The bistable multivibrator, as you know, has two stable states and is triggered into either of the states only when triggers are applied. So it does not change state until an external trigger is applied. These triggers are provided by the spikes which the Schmitt trigger provides. Next, the bistable multivibrator produces two outputs, okay, and then the differential amplifier here again produces an output which is proportional to the difference between the two inputs here. The integrating capacitor charges to whatever output voltage you get here, and then the phase angle meter gives you a reading proportional to the voltage to which this charges. And the meters here are so designed that they give you a reading proportional to the quantity that they measure. Here it measures the voltage across the capacitor and it gives you the corresponding phase angle. Here it either measures the current or the voltage across the unknown impedance and gives you a corresponding Z magnitude reading. Now if you observe, there are active detector blocks here. They are nothing but signal conditioning circuits again, which make your signal suitable for the meter to give a proper reading. Okay, now if you trace this path back, go along, okay, like this. If you can see, go along like this, you have a loop over here. It's nothing but your feedback loop, and here you have the trans resistance amplifier which is connected in feedback to the automatic gain control block. Here again you have a DC differential amplifier which is one input comes from the signal here, and then you have a DC reference voltage as per your wish. So basically the current over here is maintained constant using the trans resistance amplifier. The current across this is maintained constant using a trans resistance amplifier in feedback. Okay, this is the working of this meter is in the constant current mode. Now, let us look at the constant voltage mode. In the constant voltage mode, the only difference is here. The input of this differential amplifier is now connected to the constant voltage mode pin, and then your unknown impedance is also connected to that point. Also, the other input is now connected to the ground. Well, if you remember, in the constant current position, it was connected to the trans resistance amplifier, but here it is grounded. Also, in the constant current position, you had the Z magnitude meter connected to the AC differential amplifier, if you observe this, and the trans resistance was connected to the feedback loop. But here in the constant voltage mode, it is the reverse. The Z magnitude meter is now connected to the trans resistance amplifier, and the AC differential amplifier is connected to the feedback. The AC differential amplifier and trans resistance amplifier here serve the reverse purposes as they did in the constant current position. Now, finally, to understand the working of the phase angle, how the phase angle is measured, you have a voltage waveform and a current waveform. So, I told you earlier that the circuit is so designed that the zero crossing is detected by the circuit, and so the phase is measured like this. This is nothing but your theta z. Okay. Now, from over here, you're getting your voltage waveform, and from here, you're getting your current waveform, right? I, proportional voltage, voltage is proportional to the current, so current waveform. So now, if you observe the current here, whenever the current waveform crosses 0, the set becomes 1, okay? And whenever the voltage waveform from here crosses 0, then reset becomes 1. Okay, so now the bistable multivibrator can at a time be in only one stable state. So if this output is 1, this output has to be 0, and if this output is 0, this output has to be 1, right? Now let us look at the waveforms. Now if we say that it is set that means the current waveform has crossed 0, so that means one output will become high. Now imagine that the voltage waveform also crosses 0 after some time, then the reset becomes 1, and then this output becomes 1, this output becomes 0. Let us look at it clearly. The set terminal is 1 for some time, okay? That is when your current waveform crosses 0, and when your voltage waveform crosses 0, your reset becomes 1, and this becomes 0, right? Now if you find the difference of these two, that is done by the differential amplifier. It measures the difference between these two and then provides an output voltage to which this capacitor charges, and so gives you a corresponding phase angle reading. So the set time of the amplifier measures the phase angle, and so gives you a corresponding phase angle reading. So this is how the phase angle is measured and the phase magnitude is measured. I hope you've understood. Thank you.